Welcome back to Cinema Flicks and Music Picks. I'm Davey, your host with the most, the beast with the least. And the least we can do today is have a look at what I picked up in January 2022. I think that's the month and year. And we're now in February, so yeah, I'm assuming that's about right. Dedicate this one to Mr. Duncan McLeish, who kindly lets me promote my wares on his wonderful Facebook page, Podcast Under the Stairs. If you haven't listened to the Podcast Under the Stairs, please do so. If you even have a slight interest in horror, because I promise you there's something for you there. From slashes to paranormals to old school to miniseries about the complete Twin Peaks with Bo. There really is something for everybody there. Roundtables about great directors in the genre, and yeah. Duncan's great, his podcast network's fantastic. If a podcast needs to be 20 minutes, that's how long it is. If it needs to be 5 hours, that's how long it is, which is the way it should be. Nothing good is too long, nothing bad is short enough. So yeah, this one's for you, Duncan. So for you, and many of you, you're not dead, but in many of you, I am going to do it in 2 parts. And this will be the horror part. Now you're going to hear a couple of phrases repeated quite a lot in this. Psychological horror, first time director. Just a warning. Where you won't hear that, so we'll get this out of the way nice and easy, is Halloween Kills, starring Elon Musk. Oh no, wait, it's Michael Mann. Sorry, it's just they look so similar. Yeah, I mean, it's the middle of our new Halloween trilogy. A lot of people didn't like it. I had a bit of fun with it. I thought it was a laugh. If you like that Halloween film, was it number 5, where the town goes on a rampage and tries to have a vigilante mob out for Michael? It's very much an extension of that. Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis ain't in it too much, which some people had an issue with. I think it was quite obvious that was going to happen because everything that happens in it, especially the ending, is very much to give Laurie a real motivation to go into part 3 as a I'm coming for you, Michael, which I think would be really interesting to explore the notion that he's the victim in the next one and Laurie Strode is actually your psychopath, because she's kind of turned into one over these 2 movies. Never before seen the alternate ending. Unfortunately it wasn't a musical, so yeah. I like it. You'll know by now if you want to buy the middle of a Halloween trilogy when there's already been about, 11 Halloween. So I don't think anybody should start with this, but hey ho. Let's see, was there anything else we could churn out as non-psychological horror before we go into the big bundle that is? Yes, there is. So, who you going to call? We covered Ghostbusters, the big box set that I got the other day, so I didn't want to lift that in again because it weighs 300 pounds and I'm a wee skinny thing. This is Cleaning Up the Town, Remembering Ghostbusters, a documentary made a few years ago, 2019, but it was in production for years, from the fans. Features Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis when he was still with us. Well, they're not interviewing his corpse or his ghost. Well, no spoilers, but never mind. Ernie Hudson and Ivan Reitman. And it's all about the kind of behind the scenes and how difficult it was and what a nightmare it was to actually produce the film that ended up being on screen as a masterpiece. Nobody really believed in it. Everybody thought it was going to be a flop, especially the studio. Well, why are we banking on these guys that have only done comedies to produce, something that needs to give us action movie money? I think it all worked out okay in the end, but it is a fantastic documentary. And if you're someone who likes to see the real behind the scenes stuff, and not just about, always arguing with the studio, blah, blah, but literally how they put effects together, how they did the Stay Puft Man, how they do all who came up with the idea to do, laser beams and stuff would still look Buck Rogers, or who came up with the effects for their proton packs and stuff. It's all that kind of inside baseball stuff that if you're a Ghostbusters fan, it'll just be lapping it up. If you've never seen Ghostbusters, I don't think it's for you, to be honest. But if you've never seen Ghostbusters, you have no soul, so sorry, I can't help you. And for the one person who doubted my Ghostbusters bona fides, he said, I bet that's your only Ghostbusters figures and you're just showing them to make you look like you're a fan. Well, I disapprove, and so does my friend Walter here. He's coming to shut you down, buddy boy. No casuals have Walter Peck action figures, do they? What exactly is it that you do, Dr. Vickman? And one last one is definitely not in our remit of psychological horror. The Mangler, Toby Hooper's early 90s video shop classic. And that's all it is. It's an extended Creepshow episode, essentially. The Killer Laundry Press, as ridiculous as it sounds. So it says, from three masters of horror, which is Toby Hooper, Robert Englund and Stephen King. It's none of their best work, but it's a fun time. It's a fun 90 minutes. Toby got a paycheck out of it, and for a guy that has directed some of my favourites, Toby Hooper, yeah, I'm happy they got paid. So yeah, and there's loads of extras on it as well, which for minor Toby Hooper is pretty cool. But minor Toby Hooper is still Toby Hooper. Remember that awful year where we lost Toby Hooper, George Romero, and Wes Craven, all within a few months? Jeez Louise. So somebody get to John Carpenter and just give him a medical right now. Right, so let's get into the more psychological stuff. This one's the least of such, so we'll go with this first. It's the Stylist from Arrow Video with slipcase and booklet and whatnot. So this goes into kind of female-led horror, and it's obsession, dreaming that you're someone else, wishing you were. Kind of De Palma, early 80s, go along that route, you wouldn't go too far wrong. Again, loads of extras, including the CD soundtrack, which is cool and synthy. It goes quite 80s, so I'm pretty sure there was no surprise that they went a bit De Palma on it, but strong go to violence sums it up. But it is a bit more psychological than strong go to violence from the BBFC makes it sound, so yeah, it's not great. I watched it the other night and it's not great. It's not fantastic, but for £7, come on now, come on. I was paying $2.50 to rent these things in the 90s, so 23 years later at least, then I think we can pay a bit more to own them, for God's sake, with all those extras. And yeah, okay, here's one I was late to the party on. Saint Maud, very nearly my confirmation name, Saint Maud. Another psychological thriller, horror from a debut director, Rose Glass in this case. Very much about the healthcare system and how it lets people down, and again, issues of identity and issues of not knowing if what you're seeing is really happening or not. It's very, isn't it a dream? Secrets from pasts are revealed, and yeah. You've seen this kind of thing before, but what I would say is that a bit like what's the Ari Aster film with what's her name in it? Oh, you're shouting at the screen right now. I can tell. It's the one before Midsummer. I want to say Afterlife, but that's Ghostbusters. It's good thing, man. Muriel from Muriel's Wedding. Oh well, we'll just go with Muriel's Wedding to the horror demon movie with the baby getting decapitated. It's got kind of a feel of that about it, where it's a kind of not realistic horror, but it is a more down to earth horror, if you want to put it that way. So yeah, it's not a very good job describing the cast and crew there, was it? It was Muriel from Muriel's Wedding. Yeah, but I think you horror hounds will know what I'm on about. Nobody else will. I might as well speak French. However, something that a lot of you will be able to get on board is how awful it is to work with red tape behind you if you work in an office. So mix that with the psychological horror and you get A Ghost Waits, which has got heart, horror and humour, as the back says, but it takes the idea from Beetlejuice of the red tape of the afterlife. Remember Sylvia Sidney's character, how she has to fill out the paperwork with Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin before he was, shooting people, and take them through the queues in the afterlife and things, and the offices and the desks and blah blah. It kind of goes into that territory for an extended period of the movie, which is really cool. So yeah, a horror for office workers, a psychological horror comedy for office workers is how I describe this. A horror version of Office Space, which, as I always tell people, I used to think was one of the funniest movies ever made, and now I think is just a tragedy. Where next? Okay, we'll go with this one. Wasn't directed by but produced by one of my all-time heroes, still out there, making, I think he's making the Meg 2 next, but until now I've loved all his movies. Yeah, is Mr. Ben Wheatley, a lovely gentleman who I met at the Glasgow Film Theatre a couple of times, and he executive produced a film by Gareth Tunley, which is The Ghoul. Not about a ghoul in the traditional sense, but again, as you can probably tell by the kind of double exposure there, triple exposure, goes into themes of identity. In the back compares it to Performance and Lost Highway, which again are movies very much about identity. It's a cop movie ostensibly, but it also then goes into the occult. So Kill List was a crime movie that went into the cult, so imagine Kill List but from the side of the cops, and you won't go too far wrong. And it's got some people in it like Paul Kay, who people used to know as Dennis Pennis, but I think they now know as the priest that can bring people back from the dead in Game of Thrones. It's also got Alice Lowe, who I fell in love with her in Ben Wheatley's Sightseers with the massive pencil writing home. It's also got what's his name, Tom Meaton from Sightseers in it as well. Alice Lowe was also in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, if anybody I'm sure is a fan of that. Yeah, this, although it's executive produced by Ben Wheatley, this isn't a, oh, I'll stick my name on it, you're my buddy. It very much feels like it's in his oeuvre, so yeah, it's not just him like Tarantino was for a while, just sticking his name on stuff that he thought was cool. Like Quentin Tarantino presents Hero. No, he really doesn't. No, he's not. This is very much in keeping with Ben Wheatley's output, so I'd recommend it if you like any of his movies, but especially Kill List. That's the one that it stands next to easiest. Only a couple left, really. Actually, no, I'll lie, there's 4. Let's go to Germany. Not literally, because I've not got a valid passport at the moment, and frankly, Germans, they killed my grandfather, Not in the war, it was only a few months ago. To be fair, he was trying to use a Spitfire on them. It's amazing what dementia does. But yes, this is Sleep from Arrow Video. And this is featuring an audio commentary by Kim Newman and Sean Hogan. Kim Newman, we all love our Kim Newmanness. Visual essay by Alexandra Heller-Thomas, a visual essay by Anton Battelle, a dream researcher, Michael Venus, the director. Michael Venus, ooh. With these names, you're spoiling me, sir. But this is the sentence that made me want to go, okay, take me money, Arrow. It is richly conceived and confidently told. Director Michael Venus draws influence from Mario Bava, check. David Lynch, big check. Franz Kafka, big check in an office. And the Brothers Grimm, big check with a dark ending. But his voice is uniquely his own. German check. It's, emotional violence of horror, the cryptic roots of German folk and horror tales, which, as we know, all the haunts Pierres and just being human beings who live in, well, I live in Europe, I don't know about you guys, but the Germans and the Bavarian regions have got such a rich history of horror. So yeah, this is very much my jam. If you go down to the woods today, you're in for a big surprise. Murder most foul. No, it's again much more psychological take than that. But there is a village with a dark history. There's something wrong with the people in the village. This girl's visiting. Yeah, and there's a strange person that lives in a forest. So it's classic German themes, man. Everything about it says Hansel and Gretel and stuff like that. I mean, even the cover I think is very evocative. Obviously, of Little Red Riding Hood, and they've even kind of designed it with an old Grimm's kind of look, but with macabre things featured upon it. Yeah, I mean, this could be in the recent All the Haunts Be Ours, the folk horror box that I was showing, and I think actually it's a very good example of the genre. So there you go. Where to next? Now that we have left Germany, yeah? Oh, I went a bit Dutch there. Yes, with these grocery spoilers. Let's have a look. Okay, two more to go. Yeah, that's right, because I did show you Halloween Kills, starring Elon Musk. We mentioned Ben Wheatley, one of my favourite film directors working today. One of many people's favourite film directors working over the last 20 years is Edgar Wright, including me. I don't think he's put a foot wrong yet. Maybe not loved. I didn't love Scott Pilgrim quite as much, and The World's End was the least of the Cornetto trilogy, but I love the rest of his movies, and I loved Baby Driver so much. Especially Kevin Spacey in it. Where's Kevin been recently? I mean, I don't read the news, but has anything happened to Kevin Spacey that's kept him off my screens? I watched that last series of House of Cards and he wasn't even in it. But yes, here's Last Night in Soho, which I always want to call her Rainy Night in Soho. I get it mixed up with the Pogue song. So Last Night in Soho, starring everybody's favourite chess player, Anna Taylor-Joy. This is the HMV exclusive slipcover, which comes with some art cards. But it also features that guy there, who you may remember played a professor on TV or something to do with time travel. I can't remember. Oh yeah, that's right. Matt Smith is Jack. Matt Smith doesn't mean much to me, but I'm sure somebody else knows who he is. These are really nice, high quality, kind of proper photo cards. These. Thomas and Mackenzie there, and Taylor-Joy, the Queen's Gambit, and Matt Smith. Okay, I won't play the game anymore. It's from Doctor Who. Okay, I do love you, Matthew. He really is one of my favourite Doctors. Actually, I'm not just saying that. Fantastic film. It takes time travel. It takes giallo. It takes Michael Powell's Peeping Tom from 1960, and it takes Repulsion by Roman Polanski, puts them all in a blender, filters it through pop culture since 1960s, which is where half the film is set, and gives you that distinctly Edgar Wright feel, but in a more original way. So a bit like Baby Driver, doesn't feel like, oh, it feels like Simon Pegg should pop up in this. Oh my goodness, I nearly died there. Did you see that? I would have died on video. But no, the chair nearly went back and I went for a wee snooze. Yeah, it feels like this is a world away from the Simon Pegg stuff, but it's still filtered through the same things, the ideas of pop culture and things. So it's all in the same kind of universe, but it's just not as funny. There is still fun. It's a very fun movie, but it's very dark. And it's got a terrific young cast. It feels like the kind of cast that you'll be seeing for the next 30 years in big movies. Deleted scenes, commentaries. The 4K looks sharp as hell, and even the cover to me says classic giallo. It's got that kind of arte originale, as they call the original artwork for these giallos when Arrow released them. It's got that kind of look, doesn't it? It could be a poster for Profondo Rosso, any of these kind of classic Argento movies and that kind of thing. But yeah, lovely painted cover, so yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Terrific movie. A murder in the past, a mystery in the future. Well, just as well the Doctor's there then, isn't it? He can help you traverse space and time. yeah, just pick it up. I'm sure you've seen that if you're even remotely interested in horror. But what I think is a wonderful, wonderful double bill is Last Night in Soho, which was released today on Blu-ray and 4K. Obviously, I'm holding it in my hand. And also released today on Blu-ray and Censor, pushing you out the way there. Sorry, Edgar. This is Second Sight's new edition of Censor, starring Neve Elgar, which, okay folks, say it with me, is a psychological horror. It's set in the video nasty era, so we're talking 1980s, when the BBFC were either cutting films to shreds or banning them outright. Infamously, they banned the wrong film once. I think it was the Toby Hooper's Funhouse. Toby Hooper, we just spoke about, with the Mangler. They banned his Funhouse, and it was the wrong Funhouse that they banned, because it's quite a tame slasher, that film. But this is absolutely stacked with extras, including another commentary by Kim Newman. But he's also, as well as just being Kim Newman, who you want to hear talk about horror anyway, because he's Kim fucking Newman, he executive produced this, so there's all sorts of extras on here, which I'm going to show up too well, unfortunately, given the light. But Kim Newman does a commentary here. The director, the writer, the stars, Kat Ellinger, Lindsay Hallam, all these people pop up in the commentaries. Documentaries about video nasties, a documentary with the current, a making of, a documentary with the current head of the BBFC compliance, so he'd essentially be doing the job that Neve Elgar does in the film, and Video Nasty Memories by David Gregory, who takes you through the kind of video nasties, and then the extras are some collector's cards, the slipcase, which people always love to hear, is it a rigid slipcase or a soft slipcase? The answer, my friends, rigid as fuck. But they weren't messing about when they said the book, I don't think you can call it a booklet. It's, look at that, it's 110 pages. And here's Neve in her more 80s get up. Here she is at a different part of the film. So she is the censor. She's the one who works for the BBFC and decides whether or not films get cut to shreds. And really it's I don't want to show that picture, it's very spoilery. She decides whether or not films get cut to shreds, but it's kind of about the notion that we're adults, and we don't believe that you should censor anything. If we're adult and there be spooks out there, then I think we should be allowed to see them. And she's kind of prudish, as you can tell by the stands that they've got around in a lot of these pictures, and she's cutting them to shreds, as the BBFC were at the time. And then discovers that, maybe if you'd paid more attention to what was going on in these films, that things might be going a bit better for her, because this is a very, very deep, dark, psychological horror, and I think that a lot of you would really like it if you haven't seen Censor. I think in America, Severin are putting it out, or maybe Vinegar Syndrome. It's definitely one of the two, so don't call me a liar if it's not Severin. But get in there, you stupid fucking booking back. Well, thank you. Right, so Censor, yeah, which I say makes a very good double bill with Last Night in Soho. I still want to say Rainy Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho, because they both explore similar themes of identity, of the past meets the present, of a female-led journey through psychological horror, and also a relationship with entertainment in a strange way, which is quite fun. And the extras on Censor are just wonderful for anybody who grew up, as I say, going to video shops and looking at these films that were 18 rated and reading the horror books and going, oh, this has been banned, I need to get this, and paying for a bootleg copy of, cannibal holocaust and stuff like that, you know. I mean, in this country, when The Exorcist was banned, I remember paying 20 quid for a bootleg of that, and it was the first time I'd ever seen the spider sequence, you know, this Reagan coming down the stairs. So yeah, memories of a little girl possessed by the devil. Yeah, stabbing herself in the vagina with a crucifix. God, this has been a quite dark video, hasn't it? With Nazis and I mean, it all happened. I'm not making it up. Read about World War II. That's the real horror. The horror is that I have to remind you. So that's a look at the horrors that I've picked up. Tomorrow we'll do the 8 non-horrors. Not that there's only 2 types of movie, horror or non-horror, but it just so happens that for whatever reason this month a lot of psychological horrors came out, and that's my jam. I much prefer that to CG fests and gore and the like. I do prefer psychological horror, folk horrors, twisted tales, you know, monkey's paw kind of stuff, and then obviously my classics: Bella, Boris, Christopher Lee, Percussion, Amicus, Hammer. You know, that's all my jam. So yeah, so guess that's it then, folks. The real horror is the fact that I'm once again nearly at the half-hour mark. Imagine if I didn't split this video into. We would be sitting here for an hour just watching me talk about absolute. No actual masterpieces, to be honest, because there's plenty of good stuff in the next one. And on that bombshell, right, well, that's us for today. Hope you've enjoyed some of the recent content, especially thanks to those who watched the Ghostbusters video and made it my most successful video ever. And then I lost everybody with the June one. But the main thing is that I'm having fun. So I doff my hat to you. Well, you know, if I doff it much further, it'd be covering my chest. But until next time, folks, thanks very much for watching. Let's stay very careful out there, and pat. So you actually know I've got hair for a change. Stay very careful out there. You, and you. And, oh yeah. Love and mercy, my dears. Love